Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. After rejecting Centre's proposals, the agitating farmers today moved ahead in their march towards the national capital, escalating their pitch to breach the barricades that have been set up, particularly by the Haryana Police at the Shambhu border. This time, farmers are all geared up with JCBs and cranes to clear out the hurdles laid out by the police. Farmers are bringing in heavy machinery to dare the forces, though they have also assured that their protests will remain peaceful. This after the fourth round of talks between the government and the protesting farmers failed, with the centre reaching out once again today, proposing a fifth round of dialogue. Deploying heavy machinery to breach security while talks are still on? Is this the right way to protest? We take that question to our guests in just a bit, but take a look at the kind of modified machines that are being seen as far as these protests are concerned. Some of this was visible last time around as well, and it's not new, but this time around there seems to be much more preparation as far as this is concerned. So you've got these poke-lane machines with iron sheets that have been set up for some sort of extra gear. Similarly, JCBs with steel planes and nets have been brought in as well. There are tractors that have been converted into trailers completely. There are trailers or trolleys, tractors which are sand filled at the back. There are some hydraulic cranes that have also been brought in as far as these protests are concerned. And then, you have these machines like these diggers, which it is being alleged are to use to break the barricades, remove them. They have a claw at the end. They could remove the barricading, break them, or also be used as diggers, because a lot of the arrangements that the Punjab or the Haryana Police has done is to ensure that there is on ground also spikes, wires, etc. that have been placed. So a lot of preparation, it seems, has gone in. In any case, so many tractors are lined up at these borders that movement in any case is not very possible, and farmers seem to be insisting that they want to march towards the national capital with these tractors in tow. Even if they weren't modified, it's not possible for the national capital to accommodate hundreds and hundreds of tractors coming in via the borders and the highways. Now, while the Punjab and Haryana High Court refused to give any urgent hearing to the plea asking for protests to be curbed, they did make it clear to protesters that any form of protest is not legally permissible. So while the court was hearing the plea challenging the alleged obstructive actions of the government, it said that according to the Motor Vehicle Act itself, farmers cannot use tractor trolleys on highways. That while everyone knows about rights, there are also constitutional duties. That it is not okay to gather in large numbers anywhere one feels like. In fact, the bench also questioned the Punjab government for permitting such a large assembly of farmers. And that right to protest carries reasonable restrictions. It cannot be that you do this whichever way you want it and the government will not be forced to act. Let's also break down where the two sides stand. Of course, on one side is the central government, on the other side are the protesting farmers. This time around, there is not a big rallying cry as far as the farm law agitation was concerned, but the MSP legal guarantee demand is the one that is top of the list of 10 to 15 demands that the farmers have made. So while the centre reached out and announced that they have come up with a proposal of MSP for pulses, maize, cotton for as long as 5 years, this will obviously help in pushing for diversification, especially in a state like Punjab, where majority cultivation is rice and wheat, and we all know that these crops are water guzzling. Farmers though have rejected this, saying that they want legal guarantee on all 23 crops that currently come under the MSP scheme. Centre even went on to say that there will be no buying limit on the quantity for these 5 years that the proposal is being proposed for, but farmers insist they want the Swaminathan report clauses to be fulfilled. Finally, the centre was also willing to provide contract guarantee to grow tur, urad and masoor dal, again to push diversification in a healthy manner. But farmers insist the C2 plus 50% formula for MSP is the only thing that can actually break this deadlock. So the biggest contention is this demand for the MSP law. It has been considered undoable, just simply undoable by most economists and even agricultural experts. Here is why. In India, total agri-produce of all types, not just food grain mind you, is valued at 40 lakh crores annually. The market value of the 23 MSP crops is 10 lakh crore out of that, and the current value of MSP procurement is 2.5 lakh crores, so which is 25% of all food grains that are produced or MSP crops that are produced today. Now, if MSP was to be given on just these 23 crops, the budget, as I mentioned, would be 10 lakh crore per annum. India's total budget expenditure outlay for the current year is only 45 lakh crores. So MSP for just 23 crops will be 22% of India's entire outlay. It also raises the question, why MSP for just these 23? What about other farmers? And if you include all agricultural crop, as I mentioned earlier, that budget would be 40 lakh crore, nearly all of India's expenditure capacity. The big question we also asked today is this: by making this a fundamental guarantee they want, and then ensuring that they have heavy machines to breach security at the border of the national capital, is this really the right way to protest, both in the manner and, of course, in the substance of the demands that are being asked for?
सिर्फ किसान ही किसान दिखाई दे रहे हैं। करीब 6 से 7 किलोमीटर लंबा ट्रैक्टर ट्रालियों का काफिला है।
इस प्रकार की सूचनाएं आ रही थी हमारे पास कि प्रदर्शनकारी अपने साथ भारी मशीनरी जैसे जेसीबी, पोकलेन और हाइड्रा इत्यादि लेके आ रहे हैं। तो इस संबंध में हमने पंजाब पुलिस से भी रिक्वेस्ट किया है कि इस प्रकार की मशीनों को जो है बॉर्डर्स तक ना पहुंचने दें।
सरकार से आज भी मांग करेंगे कि दिल्ली से बड़ा फैसला करें। आप कहें कि एमएसपी का गारंटी कानून बनाएंगे।
चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार हैं। कितना नीचे सभी विषयों पर, सभी मुद्दे पर चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार हैं, क्योंकि चर्चा के माध्यम से ही हम किसी समाधान तक पहुंच सकते हैं।
आंदोलन चलेगा लंबा, ये किसान वापसी तो जाएगा नहीं।
Is this the right way to protest? Are the farmers also insisting on absolutely the wrong demands when they should actually be a little bit more compromising or come to the middle position instead of this extremist position? Let's take that to the guest joining us. Dr. Sunny Singh Ahluwalia is the Aam Aadmi Party representative. Remember, a lot of the focus has also come on what the Punjab government has done or not done when handling these protests emanating predominantly from Punjab. Nachiket Udupa is leader of MKSS, one of the protesting groups. Sanjay Rana is with me in the studio, political analyst, backs the BJP or the government view on this. And Yogendra Kapoor is agricultural economist. I do thank you all for your time. Let me begin with Nachiket Udupa first. A lot of questions are being asked on why the farmers, while being on the talking table, are also doing what they're doing at the borders. And the scenes are not nice. Let's just accept the scenes are ugly. They're trying to breach the barricades with heavy machinery while the centre is engaging with them. Is this correct?
The fact of the matter is that the last time the protest took place, the government had promised that a committee will be formed, and the discussions and what the government is inviting the farmers now is what they had promised 2 years ago when the agitation was called off. So, unfortunately, it looks like the government only calls farmers for talks when they collect at the borders. This is what it looks like, unfortunately.
But does it still justify the means? There are other people to take care of, their interests to take care of. You know what the High Court has said in Punjab and Haryana?
So, there are different unions protesting, and we are not among the groups that are at the border. But having said that, we do agree with their demands. And one has to also understand that this has been an extremely long-standing demand that politicians have kept promising time and again, and it has not been fulfilled. So therefore, that farmers are frustrated, I think, is very understandable.
Yes, farmers may be frustrated. I'm not denying that. I'll come to the demand part of the MSP. But Nachiket, the public is deserving of a better rationale than this, that you're frustrated and therefore you're doing this. Like the courts have also said in the past when the farm law agitation happened and currently, there is a manner of protesting. Now, how feasible is it that you bring hundreds of tractors? Forget about the fact that many of these machines are being modified. But you bring hundreds of tractors and do some sort of a march to the national capital. Now, why is it that the farmers need to do this? Why can't you present your demands or do a protest in a manner that is feasible for the national capital to take in?
This is not the first protest. There have been innumerable other protests. And like I said earlier, until and unless something like this happens, unfortunately, the government doesn't call the farmers to the negotiating table and there are no talks. So the government also doesn't respond until something of this sort is being done. And this is the sad state of affairs.
Sanjay Rana, you want to come in on this? Has the government also failed to kind of earn the farmers' trust and therefore they've been compelled to do this repeatedly?
Shivani, obviously I'm going to take it forward from the Nachiket ends. He's mentioned very categorically that it's 26 months back the committee has been formed, but the government has not invited farmers to do the discussion. But absolutely, I'm not agree with that, because government has formed 10 people, 10 member committee, out of which 3 must be from farmer side. But none of the farmer leader yet to be there. 3 seats are still vacant. Number one. Number two, when you're talking about the procurement, and you need to understand what is the demand. If you look at the total number of farmers in India is approx 90 million, and if you look at the Punjab contribute only 1%, which is coming in around 0.90%. Okay, this is number one. Number two, when we talk about the crop, 23 crops, wheat and paddy is there. If you look at country-wise production, UP is the highest producer of wheat, Bengal is the highest producer of rice. In similar way, if you look at the Punjab is coming all the way in third. If you look at all the crops, take it anyone, Punjab's falling in 5th position. So your demand may be a genuine. You raise the demand for the MSP, but need to understand couple of facts which I am going to give it to you, and which is important for all the viewers as well as the farmer leaders to understand. If you look at the MSP procurement in 2014, it was 1,06,000. If you look at the current scenario, MSP procurement is 2.28 lakhs. So the huge difference is there. I will give you the fertilizer subsidy as well. The number was 83,020. If you look at 2019, 2020, 83,000. Right now is 2,54,000 subsidy in fertilizer. So government is absolutely concerned about the farmers and they are ready to discuss. But the farmer need to understand they cannot hijack. You may have your right, you have all the right, but you cannot take the right of the common people of the
it's also
Delhi.
about, I take forward your word, the word you used, hijack. It also seems, Nachiket, that Punjab farmers, who tend to do better than most other farmers in the country, have also hijacked what this whole farmers' cause is. Not many farmer unions, and I've spoken to some of them on the show, agree with these demands. They feel they are better, that they're barking up the wrong tree, for example.
No, I think a vast majority of the unions certainly do agree with the demands. There are maybe a handful of unions that are not demanding MSP, they don't want MSP, but an overwhelming majority of the farmer unions do want this demand. And it is not just Punjab and Haryana. There were even 2 years back a lot of protests even from Uttar Pradesh, and even this time around farmers who were coming by train from Karnataka have been arrested at MP. So there is popular support for this. The thing is, since these states are near Delhi, then they are the ones who come in larger numbers.
But you didn't answer my question sufficiently of why bring tractors. Then it is a tactic to kind of force, quote unquote, either the public to take notice or the government to take notice. Are you arm twisting everybody?
No, the reason for bringing tractors is even last time they were there for the long haul, and so they need supplies to wait for so long for the government to respond.
You don't need tractors for that.
No, you need to bring your rations, you need to cook your food, you need to sleep, you need shelter to sleep. So last time it was quite cold when they came and they used to sleep in the tractors.
Again, you don't need JCBs and tractors for that.
No, like I said, they were sleeping behind in the tractors even last time.
And
They're
what about these
sleeping there, they're carrying their
JCBs and
rations.
other cranes and excavators that are being brought in?
See, like I said, there are different unions protesting. We are not the ones on the border right now, but from what I have heard, the latest was that the farmer leader said that they will be walking alone, is
Yes.
what I have last heard.
No, that's
So-
what they said. You're right about that. Farmer leaders have said that on record, but that's not the reality on the borders. So this is precisely what I'm saying. You know, there is one thing
No,
that is
but I-
being, on one side, there are talks going on, but you're also then doing this. This is one-upmanship. On another side, the leaders say, we will march alone. We will not ask our youth or other farmers to come with us. So that can be manageable. You can get a spot in the national capital. You can do your dharna protest. But the reality on the ground is different. So it also presents a picture of chaos and the fact that not everybody is in agreement with what they're doing. You yourself have said different farmer unions are protesting in a different manner. Leaders are saying something, but people on the ground are doing another thing. Who's in control?
So, like I said, there is a lot of frustration among farmers, but the leaders, I think, as of now, are showing responsibility and trying to ensure that the frustration doesn't lead to anything untoward. And so, therefore, they are showing the leadership and taking the initiative of saying that they will go alone.
It's not happening on ground, though. In fact, we keep hearing, you know, these statements, etc., where they, at least the public on the ground, the protesters on the ground, keep threatening to do this or that. Very quickly, Sanjay, then I go.
Just I
to our
want
other
to
guests
put
as well.
forward one point, Shivani, which is important. If you look at the total procurement under the MSP, 6.23% totally, pan-India I'm talking about. And when we talk about the Punjab, it's almost 95 to 96% procurement happen on an MSP. So I fail to understand what do you mean by frustration, number one. Number two, obviously people may get frustrated. You and I can get frustrated, doesn't mean I have to go on the street and fight and just create a chaos for the rest of the guys. You may have a valid demand, but demand should be supported by something. Take an example, people are asking about the pension. Why you need a pension? Why not? Shivani, you also need a pension. I also need a pension. If everyone, 140 crore people will come on the street and ask for the pension, then how
will the
possible for the
country
government to
run?
fulfill? Not
Exactly.
possible for the any government or any party to fulfill the requirement of these people.
No, you know, so I get, I know the answer to that would be that not every profession is the same, right? Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan after that. There's a special category that was created by our political leaders as themselves, and therefore there are special expectations. But what about, for example, medical professionals? Yogendra ji, I'm coming to you. You know, the fact that doctors perform almost a divine service to the public is also something we recognize as a society. Now, how about doctors start going around asking for either minimum pay for the services they provide or for free electricity for their clinics, subsidies of the kinds that Indian farmers get, or even the pensions that some of their demands are? How feasible are these demands? Are the farmers shooting themselves in the foot, or a selection of the protesting farmers shooting themselves in the foot by making such demands?
Shivani, that question is to me?
Yes, Yogendra Kapoor, yes.
Okay. Shivani, first thing I would like to say is that the peaceful protest is a very, very well right of the farmers. Now, what is at the same time very important is that you cannot put a gun on the government and say that either you agree with our demands or otherwise we are here for violence or for,
Blockade.
disruption of normal life. So that is not the way of going forward. The only way of going forward is through proper negotiations. And for that, there has to be a development of trust and confidence in each other. And at the same time, the government also needs to communicate its constraints very well. I think there has been a lack of communication from the government side also in impressing upon the farmers that what are their real problems in implementation of MSP across all the items or the implementation of the Swaminathan report. The fact is they need to come out very clearly that there is an element of fiscal indiscipline that will get arisen on account of that, and there will be a burden on the common man. So I think need of the hour is that there has to be a proper communication going forward, and the government needs to find permanent solution. I am absolutely against finding short-term solutions because that is not going to create trust among each other.
And many believe MSP, legal guarantee on MSP, whether for 23 or all crops, is a short-term relief. It will not solve the fundamental problems of Indian farmers. And I'm not saying that there aren't issues. Of course, there are issues. It has to be more remunerative for Indian farmers. But the MSP demand is not the silver bullet here.
Fine. But see, Shivani, I would also like to put it this way, that if we break down our country's economy into different sectors, then we have to also understand that it is the agriculture sector which has suffered a lot in terms of their growth and development over a period of time. So I think it is very important that they need to be given a compassionate, hearing also, and at the same time ensure that they are able to grow with the changing times and they move towards smart management, because that is the key under which they will be able to increase their income.
Yeah, but weren't the farm laws doing exactly that? Weren't they supposed to bring some sort of modernization in Indian agriculture? Sure, with private help, but certainly the government cannot do all of it. The government cannot provide all cold storage facilities. But this is precisely what the farm laws were supposed to take care of. But exactly these farmers oppose that.
Absolutely. But then we have to understand the fact that why this thing could not get implemented. Then I think the government also needs to take the blame that why they were not able to impress upon the farmers that they are in their benefit.
So you believe that the farmers are willing to listen, but the government is unable to change their mind? Some would say alternatively, the farmers have made up their minds, they're not going to relent.
See, I think the important point is that both of them need to move away from their rigid positions and come to a middle point where they can see a permanent solution, because ultimately that is the most important key.
Okay,
If they have to
I don't
address
think
this
there
problem
can
from
be
the bottom
permanent
up.
solutions to any problem. Life changes, your problems change. In 20 years, there will be some other problems. So there are never any permanent solutions. But is the MSP legal guarantee a permanent solution? Certainly not. I want to go across to Sunny Singh as well. Sunny Singh, first of all, a lot of questions are being asked of the Punjab government. It's almost as if you raised your hands and said, we are not going to intervene. Let the farmers build up at the border. This is either Haryana's problem or Delhi's problem. And politically, it seems the lines are very clearly divided.
First of all, Shivani, on very first day of the talks, the Chief Minister of Punjab, Sardar Bhagwant Singh Mann, was there to just modernize the things. There were the central government ministers were there, the Chief Minister of Punjab, the Finance Minister of Punjab, and the farmers. So number one is that they want a peaceful movement. Why they want this peaceful movement? What is the problem behind it? The central government is not ready to communicate with the farmer problems. They are the person who are never ready to listen to demand. Rather, even they are not ready to give a responsible response to anyone. They always, they don't come from a farmer background, but they always used to say, Narendra Modi ji always used to say that I will help farmers so that their income get double. But at the same time, when farmers are raising their voice for the demands, which they started in 2020, when the farmers, farmer perspective started at the Delhi and how everything was ruled out. And after 1 year, they were sitting on the ground and these three laws, the agriculture laws, was rolled back. Now we have to understand what is an agriculture. Agriculture is agri and culture. It is a culture. You have to understand the mindset of the farmers, because I come from a family where we have been born, we have been brought up by our parents who were the farmers. But the ministers who are coming from the center are not ready to accept the demands. Why?
No, but it's not as if they're not. No,
Shivani, I'm just giving you an example. The land of the India will remain same. There will be no change in the land. If the central government is ready to give MSP for 5 crops, I'm just giving an example, then why it is not ready to give for another 17? What is the difference? The land will remain the same. The points will remain the same. The charges will remain the same. Why they are not ready? What is the problem behind it? They have to understand.
The cost to the exchequer will be different.
So if the cost will be different, the solution is, it is a very simple solution. In 1 acre of land, if we have 100 tons of wheat, we will have 70 tons of rice in it. So you have to understand that if the rates increases, the quantity also decreases. So there is no difference. They have to understand. Now, if you look at the different seasons, if we have 4 seasons in India, we have to understand in which area, which crop can be successful and in which area crops cannot be successful. You are talking about one thing, that why farmers are getting JCBs. We have to understand when talks are going on, why Haryana government is putting up barricading, why they are putting up nails, why they are using tear gases.
Because there is a build-up. It's their responsibility to do this.
No, responsibility of whom?
The government's responsibility, absolutely. No, it's the government's responsibility towards the other citizens as well. We saw what happened last time around. We cannot have a repeat of that.
So if 700 farmer dies and you don't get any solution out of it, it is okay. Because if farmer dies, there's no problem.
Don't use emotional arguments. Mr. Sunny Singh, you are jumping fences and you're turning the issue into a complete mess. I'm sorry. You first said the government is not listening to the farmers. Now please explain. Please explain to me, how has the government not listened? What else do you want?
For 2 years, how many talks have been there?
No, but Sanjay ji just pointed out, and I remember this, when the committees were formed, the farmer representatives and unions refused to be a part of it. So if it's going to be my way or the highway, how can you blame the other side?
7 people from the government side, which was given, have no relation with farmers.
No, that's what I'm saying. You've refused to be part of the process. You can't have it your way.
No. If you are sitting here with 5 people on the panel and nobody is from the farmer background, what is the point of discussing the farmer issues? If you don't want the farmer people to be
how have you come to the conclusion that these are not the right people? You want your people, in other words.
Not from the farmer background. They were the people who were supporting Bharatiya Janata Party, who became the member of this committee, and that was the problem. And then there was no communication between them. Whenever the farmers
did the farmer union send their representatives? Did the farmer union send their representatives for these talks?
Definitely, they were open for the discussions. They
were
open
didn't
for the talks. But nobody came to them for any talks in last 2 years.
No, but did the farmer unions agree to be part of these committees? That's an important point. You cannot have everything according to you. There has to be a middle path. Come to the MSP. Come to the MSP guarantee part now. Now you are saying the government is not listening, not coming with some solutions. They've come up with a solution where they're saying, okay, for certain crops, we want you to diversify and we're going to give you a guarantee for 5 years. Let's say financially, this is what is feasible for the government to promise. Why is it that the farmers have rejected it outright?
Why cannot central government give MSP for 23 crops? What is the reason?
Sir, I just pointed out to you, it is a massive chunk of the financial expenditure outlay.
You can give free loans to people, then who
gets free loans? Which free loan? I'm sorry, you're making absolutely... You're making ridiculous statements up in the air. Who's getting a free loan? I don't get a free loan.
You don't get, but the people who are supporting Bharatiya Janata Party gets, and then
what does that mean?
There are so many examples out of it.
What does that even mean? Come on, you're making it blatantly political and making statements which cannot be justified. No, do you understand the concept of a loan? No loan by definition is free unless it is subsidized by the government, and it is actually Indian farmers plus some other sections of society that get subsidized loans.
We are not asking for free things. We are just asking, the farmers are just asking for one thing. That is legal compensation, legal...
Yes, sir, I understand that. Mr. Ahluwalia, the question is exactly this. Most financial experts believe it is not feasible. This is not going to, one, help the condition of the small and marginal farmer in India, which is the biggest chunk of farmers in India.
So the people who are protesting there doesn't know about this, and the people who are not related to the farmer associations, who are not related to farmer background, knows all this.
No, so these are financial experts who are talking about it. There's a reason no government has implemented it. These are agricultural experts who are talking about it. I don't claim to be an expert on this, but you have to listen to all sides. This is a problem on insisting on this demand.
Number one is you say that MSP is not possible, right? You say MSP is not possible.
Not feasible.
Not feasible. Okay, not feasible. I agree to this. Then that means there must be a committee, but the committee which was formed in 2021, what happened to that committee? What decisions they have taken?
But
tell
you
me
object to the committee members.
No,
Then
no,
what
then,
do we do?
Then the discussion is about this.
So then
that
maybe the farmers should have
central
come
government doesn't
and
listen
said
to
that,
people.
okay, we want to
Central
talk, change the
government-
committee members and then we'll pose our demands. But
No, no,
at
no, no,
least
no, no.
are they willing to
Shivani,
step back
madam,
from the
for
demand of the
2 years.
MSP?
For 2 years, the farmers
Are
were
they
demanding.
willing to step back from their demands of the MSP? The government offered a different solution. Are they willing?
No, but central government, for 2 years, they were sleeping. There were no negotiations, no talks. When
But
when
you
the
didn't
farmers
send your
are on the roads, when
representatives.
the
By
farmers
you,
are
I
on
mean the
peace
farmer
march,
unions.
Then you have a then,
Okay,
then you
what's
start
the
talk.
way forward? Nachiket, I want to come to you. Is it essential now? You've heard everybody's views. I think everybody kind of feels that while we all feel for the farmers' cause, and of course there are issues. Nobody is denying that there are no issues. But some of the demands are not going to be, one, solving those issues, and secondly, because of the feasibility of the MSP situation particularly, there needs to be maybe some other creative solutions found. And for that, the farmers also need to relent and adopt a middle path. Nachiket.
Yeah, so two things in response, especially on the MSP issue. The first is that the 10 lakh crore figure that is being quoted assumes that the government will buy all the produce and not sell it again. So it is going to be a complete loss. That is not the case. So what the government has to pay is only the difference between the MSP and the market price. That is one. And second is the moment the government need not even buy 100%, the moment the government starts entering the market with a certain rate, automatically the other players in the market also will have to match that rate. So which means the government need not even buy 100% of the produce in order to ensure that all farmers are getting MSP.
But a legal
So therefore,
guarantee means that if somebody else is not willing to buy at that price, they will be legally prosecutable. I think that's also a fundamentally impossible provision to provide.
No, it is not impossible because there is a similar provision available in the labor market, for example, of a minimum wage, which is a
I know
legal right.
you compared it to the minimum wage issue. Frankly, I don't have the economics of whether you can compare it to that. Plus, even in minimum age issue, we have to accept the ground realities. India has a large unorganized sector where the government cannot enforce some of these rules. Now,
So what has
asking
happened-
for that to be enforced in what is our largest labor force market, which is agricultural still, for a smaller percentage of the GDP, is again a problem.
So what happened is that the prevailing market wages used to be lower than minimum wage till the government came up with the Employment Guarantee Act. Now there the government does not employ every citizen of India. But the moment the government became the employer of last resort at a certain minimum wage, automatically the market wages went up. Similarly, if the government is there as a
Are you talking about
buyer of last
Manrega
resort,
as an
yes,
option?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but you know, Manrega is
For
hardly the
minimum
option we
wage.
want to be giving. That's a very, very dire situation, and I don't think that's the kind of solution Indian farmers need.
That is a dire situation that exists right now. So the government should be there as a buyer of last resort at minimum support price.
Okay,
because of which market prices will
Punjab
automatically go
produces
up.
predominantly wheat and rice, and most of the MSP procurement also happens from Punjab. That's also a reality. So I think Sanjay was right in questioning why is it that the frustration is in Punjab, and whether it's the economics of the landholder versus the cultivator or the land laborer that is the problem here. Plus, majority farmers, marginal and small, they're spread in other parts of the country, and it almost seems like the demands are getting hijacked from those who are already more prosperous than others. Sanjay, final 30 seconds.
I just submit in 30 seconds because I was hearing very carefully to Mr. Aap's statement. Any state government has a right and they have their prerogative to buy any crop at any price. If Punjab government is so much concerned about the Punjab farmers, why they are not procuring tomato and potato at the rate of 100 rupees per kg? Who's stopping them? Did BJP government is stopping? Did Pradhan Mantri is stopping them? No. So they are just doing the politics. If you want to do proper analysis about the MSP, if as soon as you're making a guarantee, then obviously the private sector, those who are buying at this point of time, they will keep themselves away from the MSP procurement because they are looking for other option to do the procurement.
Yeah.
Look at the Bengal.
And
the
why
procurement-
only 23 crops is the most
Only-
fundamental
obviously.
question. What crime have other farmers done who also produce, agricultural produce that the country uses? I've run out of time. Let's see what happens as far as the proposed 5th round of talks is concerned. I do thank our guest for joining us. Sanjay continues to be with us.